and this edition of Southern Newsweek. We're at the launch of the Otago Festival of the Arts. Our Alexandra team checks out the colour of the Blossom Festival, and we see which Dunedin roadworks have retailers steaming mad. Kia ora, I'm Melissa Barton. Dunedin's two-yearly arts festival launched on Monday after problems with everything from finding venues to finding missing paint have been resolved. Performers are still arriving in the city, with technicians working hard to prepare venues. And for festival director Nicholas McBride, managing his stress levels is simply part of the job.
Making sure everything's in order ahead of tonight's official opening of Arts Festival Dunedin 2018.
We've got a great team of staff and also wonderful technical staff as well who are working really hard. The magic has all come together.
That magic includes over 130 performances of theatre, music, dance and visual arts shows in 10 days. There's been a few hiccups along the way, including the closure of the Fortune Theatre, which meant a lengthy and complex task of finding new venues.
I am stressed, of course. It's I'm not sleeping very well at night, but I'm used to that. I recognise that. I try not to stress about the stress, but just accept it, because that's part of the job, absolutely part of the job.
He says ticket sales have been good but could be better, and the notoriously slow Dunedin public are staying true to form.
And that's absolutely fine, but it is quite nerve-wracking for me. I've got a lot riding on it.
Tickets are available online as well as at the Regent Theatre and from doors prior to every show in Dunedin, the South today.
And the Arts Festival Dunedin runs until the end of this weekend. Last weekend, Alexandra's annual Spring Festival looked more like summer, as crowds flocked to make the most of temperatures which reached almost 20 degrees. This year's Alexandra Blossom Festival is being hailed as one of the best yet.
Blossom Festival is the longest running community event in the country, and today we celebrate its 62nd of this amazing community event, this celebration of where we live here in Alexandra. And today I've got a good guess, an estimate of around 10,000 people have come into Alex from throughout Central to enjoy our hospitality, to enjoy the entertainment, and best of all to enjoy the weather. Biggest truck parade we've had in years. In excess of 120 trucks, 8 competitive floats carrying princesses, a great variety of marching teams, pipe bands, vintage cars, tractors, you name it, there was something for everybody.
Let's take it around again. 1, 2, 3.
The historic Phoenix Mill water wheel has finally been lifted and installed at its original site in Old Mill Road in Oamaru recently. It's been 7 years since the project began to dismantle and restore the wheel. This time-lapse shows 2 large cranes manoeuvring the 10-metre diameter wheel towards a pit, where it will sit as a visitor attraction. The area around the wheel will now be landscaped and a car park area and viewing platform also built. The project came about through the combined efforts of the Phoenix Mill Restoration Trust and Heritage New Zealand. The wheel is listed as Category 2 and was originally installed at the site of the Phoenix Flour Mill in 1878. It powered the mill before the building was removed early last century. A Great King Street business owner says he's losing at least $1,000 a week during the construction of Dunedin's new bus hub. Smith Sports Shoes co-owner Greg Lapwood says the project has already cost him thousands. Any further delays would only make it worse.
The construction job that's costing surrounding businesses thousands of dollars in lost revenue. Now a major water pipe needs to be moved after it was found to be closer to the curb than expected, delaying the project by a matter of weeks.
last 10 weeks have been very hard on the business. We've definitely had a downturn in trade.
Lampwood says his business has already lost more than $10,000 since work on the $4.4 million hub started back in July. He says he was already under a lot of financial and mental pressure, and now the situation with the water pipe has only made it worse.
That's caused a bit more stress on us, and so it's been pretty hard the last 10 weeks. And with 10 weeks to go, I'm hoping they're on schedule and it's going to be finished.
He has no option but to ride it out, and he's not alone. Other businesses in the area are also reporting a dramatic drop in sales, and they're sceptical whether the bus hub will be good for business once it's completed. Lapwood says people still aren't aware his shop is open amid the construction, but he's thankful for the customers he has had.
I know it's been tough to get in here, but we are extremely grateful to the people that have come and shopped with us, and we really appreciate it.
The City Council say the extra work will add time to the project, but ensuring retailers are able to trade throughout the construction period is paramount. The Regional Council say they're unsure exactly when the hub will be completed, but will work closely with the affected retailers to keep them informed. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, Otago University's proctor admits wrongdoing in the student bong saga. And mud, sweat and tears shed at Wingatui in an annual mud bath. Welcome back. Otago University proctor Dave Scott has acknowledged he was wrong to enter a flat while no one was home and confiscate bongs, but says he doesn't think his actions make him a criminal. Scott fronted a media conference this week, saying with the benefit of hindsight he was wrong to enter the flat and he wouldn't make the same mistake again.
So on the day in question, I was working in the North Dunedin area, visiting student flats. I was delivering face-to-face information to students surrounding initiation events, how to be a good host and how to keep themselves safe. So I went to the flat in question. The rear sliding door was wide open. I knocked on the door. I yelled out. There was no reply. I knocked again. And while standing there in plain sight, just inside the room, were 3 cannabis smoking bongs. I made the decision at that time to deal with that situation myself. Wrongly, with the benefit of hindsight, I entered the room and I seized those 3 items and then left, closing the door as I left. My intention in doing that was so that I could deal with the situation at a proctorial level, so that I could deal with the students without involving police. With the benefit of hindsight, that was the wrong decision. It was the decision I made in good faith, and my intent at the time was to give the best possible outcome for the students involved. This is my mistake. I own it. I made a decision based on what I had in front of me, and with the benefit of hindsight, looking back at it now, it was wrong.
A draft bylaw and policy adopted by the Southland District Council could see the Stewart Island visitor levy triple. A meeting has been held in Invercargill this week to discuss the draft bylaw, which is receiving a mixed reaction from councillors.
Taking a trip to Rakiura, Stewart Island could soon prove more expensive for visitors. A draft bylaw to increase the visitor levy from $5 to $15 was approved by councillors at a meeting on Tuesday and will now go out for public consultation.
Council staff have assessed this decision being made today as a significant decision. This is largely due to the large number of people who would be affected by an increase in the amount of levy and revenue collected. In the draft bylaw, it is proposed to raise the amount of the levy to $15 and also to make minor changes to the document, such as to remove the council will collect the levy through its website and also updating the location of the collection box for the levy on the island.
Stewart Island resident and District Councillor Bruce Ford raised concerns that the community did not know what the extra money would go towards and said the policy had come as a surprise. However, other councillors stressed that the policy was still in its early stages and needed full public consultation before any change was made official.
I think it seems to be overlooked that this is about consultation and this is a draft policy going out. for consultation, and I am surprised that there's not more understanding on the island of the issues we have over the replacement of the jetties and the costs attached to that.
The consultation period will run from the 4th of October to the 9th of November, with a hearing of submissions expected on November 29. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Crawling through mud-filled ditches, dodging barbed wire and navigating deep ponds seems to have retained its appeal for Dunedin locals. The 5th Mud, Sweat and Tears event in Mosgiel last weekend has been declared the most popular yet. The event at the Wingatui Racecourse attracted more than 700 people this year. It's designed to be as competitive as the entrants want it to be and is raced over 5 or 10 kilometres. People aged 13 and over are able to compete, either individually or in groups. Most people were from Dunedin, but some came from further afield, including one competitor from Chile. Organiser Simon Carter says the aim is to encourage people to get out, get active and feel healthy. The St John crew treated about 5 people during the event, mainly for grazers. A second site where water is tipped into stony ground to replenish aquifers and clean the water below has been opened in mid-Canterbury. The region is leading the way in New Zealand in managed aquifer recharge, and the governance group opened a new site near Mayfield yesterday.
The Ashburton District Council has granted consent for up to 200 litres of stock water a second to run into a dry section of the South Hines riverbed. It comes from the Rangatata Diversion Water Channel, and the Managed Aquifer Recharge Governance Group says they've got permission to take water for a few years.
The water comes out of the Rangatata Diversion Race behind us. The water is District Council, Ashburton District Council consented stock water, which we have from our governance group has got the use of till 2023. 500 litres a second. This project at the moment is consented for 200 litres a second.
Group Chairman Peter Lowe says some of the water moves through the stony base into the aquifers below, improving the flow of the Hines River. A team of volunteers planted natives as part of a working bee at the weekend.
We're ticking quite a few boxes here. The water's going into the ground, into recharging groundwater, diluting high nitrates in the groundwater, and we've also got a habitat enhancement project underway here too, so with the planting project. So we're doing quite a few projects here at once.
The Managed Aquifer Recharge Governance Group hopes that this project will enhance the aquatic habitat in the Hines River and connected wetland. Lowe says they hope the water will be clean enough to drink, as it's set to boost bores for community drinking at Mayfield. In Ashburton, The South Today.
This week was New Zealand Chinese Language Week, and school pupils learning Mandarin have been receiving additional lessons in Chinese culture. At Dunedin's Columba College, pupils are getting the chance to learn more about the culture behind the language.
Learning some traditional Chinese dance moves, these Columba College students being exposed to the culture behind their Mandarin lessons. Teacher Ivy Ding says learning the Chinese language may help the students in years to come.
The tourists come from China, and the free trading, agreement. So that's bring a lot of the business for the future, and also there's more people come to Dunedin doing their education.
She says the demand to learn Mandarin is in response to the increase in Chinese visitors here, as well as New Zealand's trade with China.
The students from school, they want to learn Mandarin because they think that it can bring them more opportunity for their future career.
She says while Chinese characters may seem difficult to master, the grammar is easier than English.
Actually, Chinese got very simple grammar compared to French and German, even easier than English. So the grammar part is quite simple, like a building blocks. However, the characters is very challenging part because it looks completely different from the English.
And if people are taught Chinese characters early in their childhood, it can greatly help studying the language later on.
So when they become older, they find it is quite easy to recognize the words, and they don't feel that challenge, and so they think they can handle it.
New Zealand is cited as being the first country to hold a nationwide Chinese Language Week, and Dunedin, The South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, pupils from a Dunedin high school won the New Zealand Challenge Shield in aerobics and more, and a colourful young Dunedin woman is looking forward to hosting a rainbow-licious party with classical music. Welcome back. Pupils from a Dunedin high school have won the New Zealand Challenge Shield in aerobics and come second in hip-hop dancing. Their teachers say their success is down to the hard work they've put into mastering their routines since the start of the year.
Basking in their success, the St Hilda's aerobics team have taken out the National Challenge Shield for winning the most places in the competition, and the school's hip-hop crew came second. Teacher Shannon Prentice says the win is a result of over half a year's hard work.
So the girls started training in February, so it's been a very busy year for them, and this has been the culmination of that really.
This is the end of this year's aerobics and hip-hop classes, but they already have an eye on the future.
It is, it's into exams for our seniors, and some of them have already started thinking about their routines for next year.
Year 13 pupils and aerobics coaches Zara Anthony Wigham and Isabel Woodhouse say they both had winning the Shield as their goal.
We have won it for the past 2 years, so this is our third year, and we were aiming for it as a school, so it was great to achieve that.
Yes, it was always the objective to win. It was always our goal to finish off the season and the whole aerobics journey of 6 years with a win. Yeah.
While they won't be high school students anymore next year, the Year 13 coaches say they'll be back to continue coaching aerobics at the school. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Airbnb has shown support for a bed tax to help solve Queenstown's growth problems, but it's rejected proposed restrictions on residential visitor accommodation in the district, which would reduce the number of days allowed per year for short-term rentals.
It's one of New Zealand's key tourist hotspots, but holiday home broker Airbnb say proposed restrictions on residential visitor accommodation will make Queenstown harder for tourists to visit.
As we look around New Zealand and indeed right around Australia where there are new laws and new rules around home sharing, they fundamentally protect home sharers, and they don't tend to have these kinds of regressive restrictions.
The new rules would see the number of days allowed per year for short-term rentals reduced from 90 to 28, with no more than 3 separate lets permitted. Airbnb's made a submission objecting to the rules as part of the Queenstown Lakes District Council's proposed district plan. They say it'll reduce the supply of accommodation and raise prices for travellers.
So we're here to talk about a better way to help protect home sharers, increase tourism in a tasteful and responsible way, and ensure that Queenstown's and Wanaka's future is protected.
The hearings panel are concerned with the lack of regulation, the impact on amenities and the impact of increased short-term rentals on the long-term rental market. But Airbnb operators say they're not competing with traditional accommodation providers.
We provide very little competition. The hotels are full. I just had a cancellation over New Year, and within 2 hours I'd had 4 more bookings, and that tells me that there is a need in this town.
But Airbnb are supporting a bed tax to help solve Queenstown's growth problems.
We support a bed tax. We collect one in about 500 places around the world, and we think it would work really well here in Queenstown. I know the Mayor supports one.
Exactly what form that tax will take remains to be seen. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Art history at the University of Otago looks set to be scrapped in 2020 after members of the University Senate voted narrowly in favour of going ahead with a proposal to get rid of the program. Student magazine critic Te Arohi is reporting University Vice-Chancellor Harlene Hayne cast the deciding vote on the program's future, but that hasn't been confirmed by the university.
Marching in support of the arts today, but as it turns out, the efforts of this Otago University student group were all in vain. A Senate meeting has voted axing the art history and visual culture courses by 2020.
Students feel like the decision is not made with long-term thought involved, and is making a decision without consulting wider members of the community. So we've actually managed to bring members of the Dunedin art community along, because with a decision like the art history program, it is a no-brainer that members of the community are able to talk about it, and the fact that they haven't even been questioned is a disgrace.
The decision means there'll be no new intakes and the program phased out over the next couple of years. Student Voice says it's a short-sighted decision that undermines the values and purpose of what a university should stand for, a view shared by the city's wider arts community.
We have members of Blue Oyster, Bellamy Art Gallery, Dunedin Public Art Gallery who've come along and shown up and taken their time to show their support for the art history program and kind of stated the importance that it has on their lives within Dunedin as a city of culture and of literature and of art.
Students say at a time when other universities around the country are questioning the future of their art history programs, it's crucial Otago stands by the importance of it as an academic discipline.
Art history is an unmovable amount of influence and understanding in the way that we examine culture, see how it's used, and it informs how it's going to be used in the future and how it's understood.
But despite the impassioned pleas of students today, enrolments in art history have dropped from more than 80 equivalent full-time students in 2014 to fewer than 19 this year. The decision will come before the University Council to be ratified next month. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A precious native bird has been given a second shot at life thanks to Dunedin wildlife experts. The young kake, or black stilt, is one of only 132 adults remaining in the wild and went under the knife at the Wildlife Hospital.
The delicate act of putting this young kake under anaesthetic. He's one of just 132 adult black stilts remaining in the wild, but has sustained severe foot injuries requiring treatment with antibiotics and painkillers, followed by surgery.
When you're dealing with species that rare and endangered, every bird counts because you're dealing with numbers in the hundreds, not in the thousands, so yeah.
An infection has destroyed the bones in his toes. One option is to amputate, but that could cause all sorts of problems with balance back in the wild. Option 2, slightly more complicated.
You'll remove the infected tissue and all the little pieces of bone that might be in there, and then leave a bit of sort of tendon and soft tissue that kind of scars, and you leave a decent sized stump, and hopefully that provides a weight-bearing surface that he can walk on.
But the stakes are high and every bird counts when they're critically endangered.
Things change with them a lot more quickly than they do mammals, so you've got to keep a really close eye on them and make sure they're not getting too deep under anaesthetic or not too light, and so it's a constant juggling act of keeping them at a good depth of plane of anaesthesia.
But despite the severity of the injury, they're hoping the bird will be able to return to its native habitat of braided riverbeds and swamps in the Mackenzie Basin. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Children's entertainer Rainbow Rosalind is set to perform with the Dunedin Youth Orchestra early next month. The one-off free concert aims to make classical music more fun and accessible to children.
Rehearsing with the Dunedin Youth Orchestra, local identity Rosalind Rainbow gets ready for their upcoming children's concert. Earlier this year she received the Sounds Community Commission Award, and she's using it to fund a one-off orchestral performance with young people in mind.
It's a project I've had in mind for a while, and it's a revolutionary shift in the way that children will view classical music. So it's introducing young children to classical music in a more fun and accessible way, but still with the educational element.
Last year she narrated the orchestra's performance of Peter and the Wolf, and that's helped motivate her for this year's event.
We definitely had a lot of encouragement from the public with that event, and it filled up the hall, and that showed us that the public are really keen for some more orchestra pieces for children.
Conducted by Anthony Ritchie, the Youth Orchestra appreciates the music chosen for the performance.
I think that they're really enjoying playing something that's very different and new. These works have never been performed before anywhere in the world, and I think they're excited to be part of something that's youth playing for youth.
And it could well mark a change in musical style for Rainbow Rosalind.
This is a one-off performance, but I'd love to, in the future, carry on to do performances elsewhere with other orchestras with the same show.
Rainbow Rosalind Meets the Orchestra is set to be performed in the Dunedin Town Hall early next month. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
That's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Get online and check us out on Facebook, or keep up with Southern News via our website channel39.co.nz. I'm Melissa Barton, thanks for watching.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.